the minutes of the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting for March 10th, 2020. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the mayor. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. Do we have everybody on, Nancy? I'm not seeing everybody in here. Hang on a second, y'all. We're trying to get something fixed here. While they're doing that, I'll call the roll for this one. For the minutes, Mayor Henry.
Yes.
Councilmember Hall.
Yes.
Councilmember Judy.
Yes.
Councilmember Palermo. Councilmember Tizer. Councilmember Wellesley.
Whoops, yes.
Yes. Councilmember Zapata. So we lost Councilmember Palermo and Zapata.
I'm back.
Councilmember Palermo, did you vote yes or no on the minutes?
Yes.
Is Councilmember Zapata back?
Kaiser's back.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. The motion carries. Moving on to public safety fire. Number 2, consideration of a resolution to submit an application for the fiscal year 2020 Assistance of Firefighters Grant Program, COVID-19 Supplemental AFG-S Grant. Chief Burnett.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for letting me do a presentation to you tonight. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you, and as we go through the presentation. Okay, as you can see here, I'm going to be asking Mayor and Council to consider a resolution to submit an application for the FY 2020 Assistant to Firefighters Grant, the AFG grant. This grant originates through the Department of Human Resources, the DHS, and also FEMA. What we're asking for is to purchase critical PPE, personal protective equipment, and supplies to prevent, prepare, and also to respond to COVID emergencies. This would also include reimbursement from expenditures made back to January 1 of this year. It requires a 10% match, which the grant total is $40,000. So the grant would be $36,450, and Roswell's part would be $4,050. Again, for a total of $40,500. That concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Floor is open.
Motion to approve.
If you can stop sharing your screen, that'd be great.
And Gary, for whenever this committee is ready, I motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Palermo.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to public safety police. Number 3, consideration of a resolution to submit an application for the fiscal year 2020 Bulletproof Vest Partnership BVP grant. Chief Conroy.
Audio. All right. Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Okay, great. So this is consideration for the grant for the 2020 Ballistic Vest Partnership Grant offered by the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance. The grant's in the amount of $10,914 to partially fund the purchase of ballistic vests for law enforcement. This is a match grant, so the city's portion would be $10,914, and we do have that money available in the police department equipment budget. The deadline for submission of this grant is June 8th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by the mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. It's unanimous. Thanks. Thanks, Chief. Moving on to Public Works, item number 4. Consideration for the mayor and or city administrator to award a contract, Chatfield Contracting Incorporated, standby contractor, for the Pine Grove Bluff Detention Pond Project in the amount of $220,000, $220,283. Mr. Skelton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is a maintenance improvement project to a pond, and we have had a design completed by one of our standby engineers to restore the structure to its design condition. We do not have very many ponds like this that are not physically on city property, but this is one of the few ones that we do. And this contract was reviewed and bid by two of our standby contractors. We did receive one no bid from one of our other standby contractors due to the nature of the work. We are recommending award to the low bidder. It's about $120,000, and we do have funding available in our Stormwater Master Project. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Floor is open. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Wilsey. For a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. And it's unanimous. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration for the mayor and the city administrator to enter a memorandum of agreement with 3P Partners, Hotel Southern Post, for the shared stormwater facilities for the properties located at 1073, 1077, 1087 Alpharetta Street, Roswell, Georgia, and to execute Amendment 1 to the previously approved MOA with Southern Post LLC and approval of budget amendment BA number 35000000-5-26-20 in the amount of $80,000. Mr. Spelson.
So for this one, I am going to share my screen and go through a few background pieces with you, and hopefully this will go smoothly. Can you all see my screen at this point?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we talked about shared stormwater from time to time, and wanted to briefly go over that for background purposes primarily. Most of you have seen this before, so I'm going to go fairly quickly. Number one, we have had this policy for a number of years. We also have a interest in promoting green infrastructure throughout the city in our stormwater program. And today, this agenda item basically provides a shared stormwater agreement for the hotel at Southern Post, which is being developed by 3P Partners. That's a new memorandum of agreement that we're proposing for the first time to you all, and an amendment to the previously approved Southern Post memorandum of agreement. And just for background, this is the kind of a quick overview of our shared stormwater policy that was put in place in late 2019. We've used it several times, and this has been a program that has benefited a handful of properties. We'll kind of talk through how it works and this particular arrangement that we're bringing forward for your consideration. Basically, this allows property owners to share facilities that may not be able to fit on a given project site. So one project site may be better able to accommodate stormwater, water quality, or detention facilities than others, and this allows that area to be developed to its full potential and to be shared with other property owners. That's the basic concept. We also put this in place in part as one of our 319 grant projects on the Myrtle Zion project, where they were excited to see us develop the attempt to have a revolving fund where credits might be accumulated and sold and used to develop additional stormwater facilities in the future. So we initially put the program together, and then it became something that helped us secure additional funding through the 319 program through EPA. The examples of places we've already got these memorandum of agreements in place include Sun Valley, Myrtle Zion Street that I mentioned, and now this one that we're working on is for the City Hall Pond, which already has a memorandum of agreement that's in place with Southern Post, and we will be adding the hotel at Southern Post to that program. And that's really the focus of this project, or this item tonight, as well as an upcoming project, which will actually be the bidding of those improvements to the pond at City Hall, which will be coming forward to you in the next couple of months. We're very close to being able to bid that. The pond was originally part of the City Hall complex and provides stormwater detention for the facilities here at City Hall. There's also some redevelopment in this area, and in particular, the pond needs maintenance, so we have some things that have to be done to this pond regardless. There's trees that need to be removed and a number of other things that are just the course of the pond being overgrown and not having maintenance for some period of time. And we had the shopping center, the Skillet property upstream that was sold for redevelopment, and this idea of improving the pond came up before that property was even sold, I believe, as just something that could be done to improve stormwater management in this part of the historic district. And it's a unique opportunity. We already own the asset and it's got additional potential. Here's a map that shows the location of, this is the Skillet property and this is the hotel property. And the pond that we're talking about is here between City Hall and the Cultural Arts Center. That's the Cultural Arts Center here, City Hall is over here, and this is an existing pond that we would be improving as part of this upcoming project. I'm just giving you this as the overview. On the southern post property, this is a blow-up of that area. This is the hotel area, and this is the southern post property in this section. Southern Post, when they were developing their property, went through quite a bit of work together with our staff to figure out the best way to handle stormwater on their property. And in this image, you can actually see this shaded area here is the area of their underground stormwater detention system. It doesn't provide all of the detention that they need for their site, and they worked out a deal to use some of our capacity in the City Hall pond as part of their project. That same facility was over-designed to accommodate some additional flow from the adjacent hotel at Southern Post property. And this kind of gives you a quick summary. We have an agreement now with Southern Post, and Southern Post has done most of the stormwater management work required to develop a memorandum of agreement. 3P Partners has expressed interest in using that facility, both the facilities on the Southern Post site and our city facilities that are going to be built, and in sharing in those costs and entering into a memorandum of agreement. That's where we are today, and 3P Partners agreement is what the main agenda item is in front of you. And this kind of gives you a little bit of an overview in terms of how we keep track of these things. These are all the parcels that could potentially drain into the City Hall pond, and it's just here to show you the range of potential users of the shared stormwater resource that's been developed. And with that, the point I want to make about Southern Post is this agenda item also includes an amendment to their previous memorandum of agreement with no money changing hands, but provides additional information that details exactly what they're doing and exactly how it's going to be maintained in the future. So there is a, let me just switch to another example here on my screen. There's one other item in your handout that details the amendments to the Southern Post agreement. And again, for the most part, it is providing just additional details about those facilities that have been built by that developer that are being shared with the hotel at Southern Post. So with that, I'll be happy to stop sharing my screen and address any questions that you may have about the item that's before you.
Thanks, Dan. The floor is open.
Mr. Skelski, great presentation. Thank you. So I have a couple different questions. So first off, in regards to cost sharing, it's my understanding for each of these in the past, whether it was Southern Post or if it was Sun Valley, that each time the developers paid really the full fair share of what they're using, and taxpayers aren't at all paying for any of their use. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. We have a pretty comprehensive approach, and actually, if I can go back, I will just mention and share one other slide. I wasn't sure if this was going to come up, but since you have brought the cost sharing up, let me just share my screen one more time. And so this slide kind of gives you most of the factors that we consider when we're looking at pricing these things in order to make it a fair deal for the city and a fair deal for the applicants. They're very site specific, and yes, in this case, the amount of money we've proposed we think is a fair price for the hotel at Southern Post. I will say that it has not been executed and is still subject to a little bit of negotiation, both the specific terms and the price, but we think this is a reasonable fee. It is probably the highest price per acre that we have charged anyone to date, and there are good reasons for that based on the nature of this site and what has been done by all the other parties in the shared stormwater agreement already. Does that answer your question?
It does. So that fully answers my questions around the hotel. So then my question is just some more clarification on the amendment. So help me understand the things potentially being amended for the Southern Post. What are the pros and cons for the city and for residents?
So really, in terms of pros, it's very simple. It's just clarity on the obligations that the Southern Post developer is providing. So when we entered into our original agreement with at that time it was 1023 Roswell, but it's now been transferred in ownership to the Southern Post LLC. Some of the information that's now being attached to the MOA did not exist in the same detail that it does today. So right now we have a modified hydrologic analysis, which their engineers have conducted. Our engineers have verified, who are working on our City Hall pond. And we have much more refinement on the design of both the shared facilities on the Southern Post properties, as well as our own City Hall pond and what its capacity is. So we've clarified that in the exhibits. That's primary change. We also have additional commitments in terms of the maintenance agreement and the easement that they have entered into with the hotel, primary exhibit in the hotel's memorandum of agreement. So mostly it's added documentation of the maintenance and the specific size and location of the facilities and how they're going to operate on the Southern Post facility. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any further questions? Floor is open. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Councilmember Tizer, second by Councilmember Wilsey. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Item number 6, discussion update of the Stormwater Utility Division. Mr. Lyon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Adam Lyon, Stormwater Utility Manager. I'm fairly new to the city. I've been here for just over 2 years. I've been in this position for about 1.5 years. I'm going to share my screen here, presenting our stormwater utility update. And just start real quick with an outline of what topics I'm going to touch on today. Our stormwater team, the cross-training program that we've implemented, some of the regulatory compliance with our citizen response, and systems, our operation and maintenance activities, and our capital improvement program. Here we have a org chart of our small but potent stormwater team. Sue Rossetti is our administrative assistant. She's a real superstar. She's actually been crucial in helping me get my hands around the billing and budgeting of this city that I was not familiar with before coming here. And then next I've got Jacob Malden. He's our stormwater project and MS4 specialist. He does all the heavy lifting on our regulatory compliance and inspection and reporting. And he also manages our CIP projects, or our infrastructure improvements that are done by contractors, and down to and including field inspections. Our illicit discharge and detection elimination inspectors, we have two of them, are John Starock and Jamal Jackson. They're actually the eyes and ears of our division. They're the first point of contact in most cases with the residents, and they respond to all our citizen complaints and concerns, and they're actually conducting the overwhelming majority of field inspections related to our regulatory compliance. And next, Yoel Martinez has been with the city a long time. He's the stormwater maintenance supervisor, and he handles the overwhelming majority of our operation and maintenance projects with his 6-man crew, which consists of Billy Young. He's our crew leader. He's actually, his positive attitude and work ethic are rather infectious, and he actually brings a lot to the team. And then our equipment operator 3s are Ken Hill and John Harris. They, together with Billy, do almost all of our heavy equipment operation. And the rest of the team is all equipment operator 2s, Julio Vega, Norman Moody, and Michael Baltimore. And they do smaller equipment operation and the majority of the hand labor that we have to conduct to do our projects. Lately, we've been, past year and a half, we've been focusing on cross-training. All of our operation maintenance crew members are actually training on all aspects of construction. That includes the vac truck, the remote control camera, practicing with our skid steer or excavator, the backhoe, doing project layout, which is they've been learning about how to set up a project with site levels and lasers, and a quality assurance inspection, so that we're making sure the stuff we're installing is going to last for a long time. Also, John and Jamal are IDDE inspectors, and Billy, the crew leader, have been training on construction oversight, and that's specifically oversight on our contractors that are installing infrastructure for us, making sure that they're doing it to our requirements. And we've have downtime and end of day lulls are now dedicated to training our staff. So regulatory compliance, a huge portion of the Stormwater Division time is dedicated to inspections and reporting required by state and federal regulations. Our municipal separate storm sewer system permit, which is the MS4 permit, is renewed every 5 years, and a new one was issued on June of 2019. And in response to that, we generated a new stormwater management plan as was required by that permit, and we submitted that to EPD in December of 2019. They just got their comments back to us a couple of weeks ago, and we are currently working on addressing those comments so that we can finalize that plan that'll govern how we go forward under our permit. Our annual inspection cycle ended on April 30th. So since then, we've been compiling our annual report that we have to turn in by the middle of June. In the past year, we've handled 298 citizen calls, 1,076 structures we've inspected. We've just under 31 miles of conveyance has been inspected. That's pipe and ditch conveyance. We've done 17 water samples with the city of Alpharetta, and those inspections have generated 315 work orders. Did want to go over one of the things that's changed in the last year is we have updated our guidance illustration specifically about the extent of service and level of service that the city provides as a utility. The utility maintains, repairs, and replaces the infrastructure from right-of-way to right-of-way in almost every case, very rarely outside of that range. Example of things we don't maintain are detention ponds on private property, open drainage not in the right-of-way, driveways that take water off of the roadway, privately installed facilities that were not dedicated to the city specifically, driveway pipes, and recreational ponds and lakes. And here we have the actual illustration that we modified. Specifically, we added the driveway pipe and the extended drainage system. Those were two sticking points that we would discuss with people, and they had a hard time understanding what we were discussing with them. So a graphic illustration of it. It's not a change of our policy, it's just a change of the graphic to make it easier for us to discuss with residents. Our operation and maintenance is performed almost entirely in-house by our crew. In the past year, we did 363 work orders, and those range from cleaning out a head wall or a catch basin all the way up to a full-scale pipe project. And pursuant to that, we acquired a new excavator, the Caterpillar 311, and a remote controlled trench roller. Those are helping us to more quickly and professionally install pipe, specifically concrete pipe, which we've been installing exclusively since April of 2019. We also have instituted a new program where we're doing cross-train inspections. We are started in November. The aim is to have all of the cross-trains inspected within 5 years. We've done 569 so far out of 3,187. And a cross-drain is any culvert or drainage system that's under a roadway. So it's important work. These are our new items that we purchased. This 311 Caterpillar you see in the bottom left corner there is a much larger machine than it replaced. Our previous machine could not safely handle small concrete pipe. It couldn't do anything with larger pipe. With this machine, we're able to safely and effectively install pipe up to 30 inches. And the trench compactor you see there, that's ours. It's identical to ones we've been renting for years, but we don't have to wait on it to be delivered. And at the end of the project, we don't have to leave it sitting on the side of the road waiting for the company to come pick it up. It enables us to be more efficient in our projects and make sure that we get the compaction we need, and also have a lower impact on our residents when we're working in their yards or in front of their houses and having to be there a longer time with rental equipment. Here's just some notable operation maintenance issues. In the upper left-hand corner there, we've got a utility that's perforated our storm pipe. That's actually more common than you'd think. It happens a lot, and it takes a lot of time and effort. We coordinate with those utilities to resolve these conflicts. And in like this case where it's sanitary sewer, both the systems are gravity driven, so it becomes pretty complex to fix. And then the upper right-hand corner, that's our old excavator cleaning out a beaver dam just south of Sun Valley. It was about 8 feet tall, and it was flooding a huge section of the woods there up to an apartment complex, and we had to get in and clean it out. Bottom left-hand corner is kind of the meat and bones of what we do in the operation and maintenance is repairing small things that are broken. That's a catch basin lid that was broken, we had to replace, and we usually form those and tie steel and pour them in place. And the last thing here is the lower right hand. That's on Oxbow Road. There was a rock channel that carried water and storms in for a while after storms, and the water was jumping the curb and crossing into the roadway. That catch basin you see to the left of that picture was pre-existing, but we cut a new weir in the side of it and installed this flume to get the water to come off that slope and go in a pipe to go into the road, just improving safety, and it actually doesn't look all that bad. Our capital improvement program consists of water quality and watershed improvement projects, as well as projects that are too large or too complicated for our in-house crew. And in the past year, we did 12 capital improvement projects, but we have instituted a new project ranking system to ensure that we're spending the money the best way possible. And the criteria are listed there: health and safety risk, property damage risk, ease of construction, paving schedule, and then there's several other factors. Those factors are weighted, so the health and safety is twice what property damage is, and it's twice what the one below it is. And it's designed to make sure that we're addressing what really needs to be addressed. And out of those 12 projects, I just picked out 2 of the bigger ones we did in the past year. Mountain Park Road, this is, if you see in the upper left-hand corner there, that's a before picture. It's a double barrel culvert. This is a textbook case of a big problem that is not easily discernible to the untrained eye, that actually doesn't look bad in that picture, but the foundations on those walls are greatly undermined. If you look at the picture just top center, you'll see that's just after we pumped the water out of there. The foundations are exposed and undermined, and the potential is for them to shift, and we could lose that whole span in the road with it. The picture on the top right corner there is during construction. We had our contractor came in there and installed wire. That wire's spaced out from the original corrugated arch top, and so that when they spray the concrete in there, it's in the middle. So we have a reinforced concrete top on those culverts now. It's a 8,000 PSI concrete. And then we also reinforced and the foundations and reinstalled inverts. And you can see the bottom right-hand corner picture is the finished product. And we were able to do that. That's good from now on, and it's minimum impact. We did not have to close the road, and you can see in the picture there, we minimal environmental disturbance to get in there and get that fixed with that process. Really happy with that project. And the next one, I'm sure you're all familiar with the North Cross Street project, considering its proximity to City Hall and how heavily trafficked that roadway is. In that project, we were replacing a very old culvert. If you see in the upper left-hand corner there, that's actually the old culvert when we exposed it, which is some pretty amazing stacked stonework there with the intricately stacked stone arch. That's quite a bit of craftsmanship. It's amazing it lasted so long. But when we did start digging out there, and before we started digging, when we first inspected it, they suspected there were voids, and when we dug, we found them. Those bottom 2 pictures, the one on the left is a void that we uncovered that actually went out underneath the eastbound lanes of North Cross Street, and the one on the right is a void that was behind the sidewalk and behind the catch basin on the south side of North Cross Street. And those huge voids like that, finding them before they daylight is exactly what our cross-train inspection program is about. We're trying to make sure that we don't have something like this that come to us after it shows, reflects to the surface and sees daylight, because at that point you have real danger involved. And it was a big project. We put 48-inch pipe very deep in the ground. If you look at the right-hand picture there, that's 2 stacked trench boxes with them lowering pipe down into it, with the little bitty guys at the bottom of the trench. They look tiny, but they are actually full-size humans. And if you look at the picture to the left, that's the exact same manhole that you see in this area right here after we've put in a lot of fill and compacted it in preparation for roadway, sidewalk, curb and gutter and shoulder. And that fill, all that fill was hauled in because one of the big unexpected things on this project was what we dug up out there. It was huge amounts of trash, tree stumps, other organic matter, old curb and gutter, old road bed, old sidewalk, all buried out in there, and it was unusable. We had to haul off and bring it back in. But we were able to complete the project on schedule, and it actually turned out really nice. It's going to last for a long time. Really proud of that. And that's all I've got for you so far. And if you have any questions or need any clarification, I can handle that.
Adam, I'll just say that it wasn't until I moved to the south that I realized how big of an issue stormwater is. You know, having grown up in Ohio where it's flat and working in Michigan where it's flat, I didn't appreciate the job, the tremendous job and work that you guys do. So I want to tell you I appreciate it, and I enjoy working with you. So thank you. And the floor is open.
Mr. Lyon, great presentation. I appreciate all the pictures, the passion. You and your whole team do a great job, and we're lucky here in Roswell to have you and your team.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. What is the difference between a detention pond and a retention pond?
Okay. Detention pond is, it literally detains water. So water comes into it during a storm event, and it holds that water 36, 48 hours, and after that, that water's gone, and that pond should be dry. A retention pond has a permanent pool that it retains. That's what makes it a retention pond. So a retention pond can be a stormwater feature where you have a permanent pool that's some sort of water quality or even an amenity. I built one of those in Sandy Springs before I came up here. The Marsh Creek Pond / park down there is a retention pond. But generally, the overwhelming majority of retention ponds are recreational ponds and lakes.
So what we're doing up at Southern Post, the one underneath the property is a detention pond, and the one by City Hall, is that a retention or a detention?
Detention.
They're both detention.
Yes, absolutely.
Adam, thank you and your team for everything you do, and I'm very excited to now know what MS4 stands for. Neither of your supervisors ever told us, so thank you.
Glad I could be of service.
Well, thank you very much for all you do.
I'd like to thank you all. I would like to thank the entire department, but also thank you for the great presentation tonight. You have made a topic that could be mundane into sexy, so we appreciate that. And we appreciate all the good work you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Could I make one comment before we wrap up, if I may? Two things. If you can't tell, Adam's passionate about construction and he's passionate about stormwater. We're lucky to have him. That's point one. Second thing is, stormwater is one of those areas that interfaces with property owners a lot. And Adam has demonstrated a really uncanny ability to explain this to customers in a way that they can understand. And it's incredibly important for the city to understand what's ours, what's private, what's the state's, and stormwater is kind of a checkerboard of that kind of activity. And Adam does a really good job of explaining it, and it really has protected the city's interests in a dramatic way in the last year and a half. So we're happy to have him, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Appreciate it.
Nothing left on the agenda. We are adjourned. Have a good one.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, thank you.